In this context, we're pleased to be joined by former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Danny Ayalon. Danny's also a former Israeli deputy foreign minister, and we're pleased to have him checking in by telephone this morning from Israel. Danny, welcome back to America's Forum.
Thank you so much, JD. Always great to be with you.
And we are pleased to have you on this, the first day of Hanukkah and the celebration of the
Yes,
Festival of
happy
Lights.
Hanukkah, yes.
Happy Hanukkah to you. And quite frankly, things have not been sweetness and light and happiness at the United Nations for Israel. What about this latest push at the UN regarding the Middle East, specifically the relationship between Israel and the Palestinians?
Well, I'll tell you, JD, unfortunately, I'm not very much surprised by the new move of the Palestinians. They have been trying for years now to isolate Israel, to discomfort it, to condemn it, and they use a very convenient platform for them, which is the United Nations and other international bodies, because they have this automatic Arab and Muslim majority. But this has always stopped short at the Security Council because of the American position and veto. Now, we see a real campaign, very intensive campaign lately by the Palestinians. We saw it in Europe. Now we see it in the Security Council. And I hope that there will be enough countries who will not let it happen, because it's not only going to be not constructive, not going to help one bit, neither the Palestinians nor the Israelis, but it can really start a slippery slope of one-sided resolutions, unilateralism instead of cooperation.
Danny, about 2.5 minutes remain in this particular segment, though you've graciously agreed to stay with us through 2 segments on the program today. Obviously, yesterday in Rome, a lot of speculation on that meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Secretary of State John Kerry. What are you hearing came out of those talks yesterday?
Well, what I hear is that the secretary was non-committal. He has not agreed to commit to any position yet at the Security Council, which I think is also, in a way, unfortunate, because, for one thing, the United States has always been the indispensable country, and I believe it will continue to be so because of your moral standing and all the other capabilities. Certainly, Israel and the United States are natural allies based on interest and, of course, strategic outlook, and then basically our values. Now, to let the UN butt in to what traditionally has been the United States' role would be very, very bad. So I hope and pray that at the end of the day, I think it would be better for everybody's interest, and certainly all those who seek peace, that this resolution will not come to being.
A little more than a minute remains in this segment. Danny, I'm just curious, when does a diplomatic initiative become a diplomatic attack? And in your mind, is that what is transpiring now under the aegis of the United Nations?
Absolutely. I would say that the difference is the collaboration. Once you start an initiative, which is could be proactive, of course, but it could be also overreaching to the other side, trying to really sort out the differences together in an honest way, this would be a good diplomatic initiative. But if you try to force something on the other side without taking any concern of the other side's interests, then it can just backlash and backfire.
Danny Ayalon, the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. Sir, we thank you for your time, and we appreciate the fact that you are going to stay with us. When we come back, we'll get Danny's evaluation on the state of the relationship between the nation of Israel and the United States. We'll also talk to him about other subjects of interest as news continues to develop around the world vis-a-vis Islamic terror. America's Forum returns right after this. Let's continue our conversation with former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Danny Ayalon. Ambassador, again, we appreciate your time.
You are most welcome, JD.
Now, here we are, the first day of Hanukkah. Last month, the Prime Minister set forth a very stark scenario regarding a nuclear Iran. How close do you believe we might be to seeing Iran with nuclear arms?
Well, JD, I would say a lot will depend upon the conclusion. How will the negotiations between the P5+1, led by the United States, and Iran, will the negotiations finish or end with the complete dismantling of the capability, nuclear capability of Iran, or just a suspension, as the situation is right now? And what is a real missing opportunity of historic proportion is that there was no demand from the Iranians to dismantle, because Iranians are on their knee. They are not on par with the world international powers. First and foremost, they are here the culprits. They are the ones who breached any of their commitments on the NPT that they are signatory on, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Also, they are in material breach of Security Council resolutions. So there is no issue here of negotiations, but of demand wrongs of Iran on the one thing. Secondly, Iran is on the verge of economic collapse because of the sanctions at work. So instead of pushing further and getting the concessions out of Iran, giving them more leeway by sanctions just for suspension, I think strategically was a mistake. Now, it's not, there's still room to correct that, especially now with oil prices going so much down. I think Iran could really be much more pliable now, because the Ayatollahs, as irrational and crazy and radical as they are, they're not irrational when it comes to their own political survival. And they know that without an economy, social unrest, political unrest can really endanger their own seats. So now is the time to push and get a good agreement.
Danny, along those lines, the New York Times featured an article yesterday detailing how Iran's president is determined to close this deal and deal at home politically with those forces who would prefer not to see an agreement with the West, even if it means continued sanctions on Iran. Do you believe the Times story has some substantiation here?
I believe that Rouhani, which supposedly shows a pretty face to the West, and this is why he was elected or semi-appointed. He couldn't have run without the nod from these radical Ayatollahs, is exactly to tempt the West to get an agreement which is not conclusive. That means suspension of their capabilities, so at any time in the future, at their will, they can run, become a threshold country, and make a breakthrough for a nuclear bomb, which would be devastating for all of us, not just Israel and not just to Saudi Arabia and all the other allies of the United States, but basically to Europe and to the United States itself. We all have to be reminded that they also have these long-term ballistic missiles.
Right. And Danny, so you're telling us all, beware anyone characterized as an Iranian moderate when it comes to nuclear weapons. Now, before we go, about a minute left, I'm interested in your assessment of the current state of relations between our two nations. Are things going to improve in the near future?
I hope so. The United States and Israel, JD, are natural allies, and our interests and everything is so much intertwined. Must get a much closer, I would say, views at the top. Although the relationship are much bigger than anyone who occupies at any time the White House or the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem. Our defense, intelligence, all the other systems, economy, high-tech, are working so well together for the benefit of all of us. But it is very important also because this the prism or what we see, what the world sees, is the relationship at the top. And
we have to improve on that.
Daylight,
yes, sir. Danny Ayalon, hate to cut you off. Appreciate your time. America's Forum will continue.